What is up, guys? I do hope you're well, and welcome to r/Entitled Parents Doggo Edition. If you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe button, and maybe even that notification bell. And with all that being said, let's get started. First, we have a story from Captain Merville, entitled Mum Demands My Dog to Breed. So to start off with, where I live, there's a great park at the bottom of my road, so every day I take my dog down to play. On this particular day, we decided to go down to the park after a nearby nursery had finished, and naturally all the children want to play my dog, and it's naturally very popular, but it's great because he loves children, and whilst playing I noticed a woman who is the EP trying to put a lead on him, so I'll be referred to as M for the rest of the story. I go up to her, and this is how the conversation went. Excuse me, why are you trying to put a lead on my dog? Oh, well, he's off the lead and I figured he was abandoned, so I thought I'd take him home with me. Wait, what? I have his lead right next to me and I'm literally 2 feet away from him, so can you take the lead off him now? My daughter loves him, so why not just let us take him with us? We have another one of these dogs anyway. Husky. Look, lady, you can't take other people's dogs because you want to. I want this dog and I'm going to take him home. He doesn't deserve an owner like you, who would just abandon him at the drop of a hat. You can't be serious, right? I'm literally taking him in a playfield. What are you talking about? I'm going to breed him with my own husky, and he'll have a happy life with me. So just give him to me already. Are you fucking insane? No, you cannot take my dog. If you want to breed your dog, then buy another dog to breed it with, not mine. Other parents and children are around me, and I figured if I leave, she'd just rant and rave to herself before going home. So then I go to take the lead off and put mine back on and then exit the park. And I thought she'd leave it at that. But oh no, she follows me back to my house while screaming and ranting that I've stolen her dog and shouting for help. This was so shocking to me that I literally froze for a few seconds before I continued walking back to my house and went inside, only to have her furiously banging at my front door demanding I give her back the dog and that I don't deserve an animal, and a few other random insults I can't quite remember. I eventually opened the door and explained that if she doesn't leave my property, I will call the police, and after screaming and shouting a bit, she eventually realised that I'm being serious and leaves. Phew, all over. Well, not exactly. A couple days later I receive a visit from the RSPCA, stating that I have a dog that is extremely malnourished, so they asked to see the dog. Of course, I allow them to inspect him, and the person literally says to me that he is in perfect health, and that he is a lovely dog/breed. I thank him and he leaves and says nothing further will happen. In this case, thank God. Side note, after retelling the story, it only just dawned on me that this lunatic had a dog lead with her and no dog, so I seriously hope her dog was at home. I know this last bit is a bit hard to pin on her. It's just too coincidental to me considering EP followed me back to my house. Anyway, thanks for reading. If anyone has any questions, I can try to answer ASAP. Edit, here's a picture of my dog from last year when it was snowing in my town. Good doggo. I love dogs. Next we have a story from It's the Cringe Factory. You aren't having a seizure, so we can pet your dog right now. I only made a Reddit account to post this because it still infuriates me, although I'm not really the victim here. I received full permission from my friend to post it, and I need to take out how frustrated I am with people's stupidity. Hopefully it's not too long. I have a habit of rambling, so I hope I didn't do that. Anyways, I have a friend from one of my classes who owns a service dog to warn about any incoming seizures. Most people are very accommodating with the fact that you are not allowed to pet the dog, and when they do reach over, she lets them know. She told me before she's never really had any difficulties with people petting her dog because most of them are very understanding about it. Neither of us expected it to change, but boy, we're in for a surprise. We're walking to the campus library, and right before we enter, we see a mother holding a child's hand. It's a community college, so it's very common for people to see children with a parent who might be attending. The child was very interested in my friend's dog, Maxie. Yes, like the woman's hygiene brand. I tease my friend about it all the time. Considering the fact that he kept turning around to look at it, neither of us cared much about it and continued to the library. The security guard stops the lady and the child, probably to check college ID, and in the meantime, my friend and I show our IDs so the guard could let us in. We go in and wait for the elevator when the lady finally catches up to us and waits with us. While we're waiting, the lady turns to my friend, and the conversation between her and my friend, we'll call her Alyssa, pretty much went like this. I couldn't help but notice your dog. He's gorgeous. Thank you. Maxie's a girl though. The lady then says some question about what breed and other like specific questions. Alyssa then says, she's a... I know it's a German Shepherd, but I don't know if it's pure or whatever. Let's just say Maxie's a German Shepherd. Lol. She's beautiful. Thank you. Elevator door opens, we go in. It's just awkward silence besides the few whispers between Alyssa and I, and we reach the 3rd floor. It's empty because it's about 5 in the evening and most people don't usually stay late. Alyssa and I sit all the way in the corner. We notice the woman and child sat on the closest desk to us. It was a bit strange since the rest of the floor was really empty, and she waited for us to sit down before she chose a desk, but we just shrugged it off. We're doing our own independent work when both of us hear kissing noises. We look at each other, and then the woman, who's making kissing noises at Maxie. Alyssa politely goes, "Please don't distract her, she's a service dog," and the woman responds with, "Okay," and things are all settled. About 20 minutes later, we start hearing kissing noises again, and we see the woman trying to get the dog's attention. At this point, we decided the best idea would be to move, so we left to the other side of the library. We go back to doing our work, and Maxie is very comfortable under the table. About 15 minutes, we hear shuffling and a tiny boy walking over and sitting on the table adjacent to ours. He walks up to Alyssa and goes, "Can I please pet your dog?" In which she responded, "No, I'm sorry, Max is a service dog, so she can't be distracted." At this point, the mother had arrived and placed their stuff on the table. Both of us begin to get bad vibes about what would happen, and I let Alyssa know not to get too settled in, as we might have to move again. She agrees, then we go back to whatever work we were doing. We began to hear kissing noises, and I decided to take matter into my own hands and say, "Mom, it's a service dog. You were told once before not to distract it. Please be a bit more understanding about it." This was an awful idea. The lady says, "It's not your dog, you shouldn't be talking." I then say, "What? That shouldn't even matter. You're not supposed to distract someone's service dog, especially while it's working. End of story." "Why do you even need the dog? You seem fine," directed towards my friend. My friend then says, "I get seizures. I need to know when one's coming so I can get to a safe area." Something along those lines. "But you're not having a seizure right now, so just let us pet it." Maxie could miss a crucial moment, so I'd rather not. Sorry. "Come on, we could have pet it so many times by now and you'd still be okay." "I don't let people pet her. Sorry, please stop asking." At this point, I'm completely packed up and fed up, and both Alyssa and I, and Maxie of course, are walking over to the table we were at before when suddenly the boy runs up to us and pets the service dog. Alyssa quickly yanks on the leash and freaks out. She pushes the boy away slightly and we hear, "Don't you lay a finger on my son," from behind. The mother was grabbing her belongings and coming towards us. At this point, we'd gotten the attention of the very few people on this floor, and one of them quickly rushes downstairs to get security. Bless his soul. We're all very startled, especially Maxie, who kept having her leash pulled every time the boy attempted to pet her. He ended up running back to his mother after Alyssa told him to back off. I then say, "Mom, please keep a better eye on your son. You're not allowed to distract the service dog. Leave us alone." "Excuse me, I don't see the dog working very hard now though, do I?" She's nudging her son to go and pet it. "The dog needs to remain alert, and when you pet it, you and your son have been distracting it. I don't see how a few strokes can hurt you," still nudging her son to go and pet it. I then say, "If you can't understand it like that, then think of it in the sense that she's just a dog owner who doesn't want you touching her dog. You don't have permission to touch it. Now please leave us alone." "Why? She's such a sweet doggy." I give my son permission to pet her, as she goes up and starts to pet Maxie along with her son. Doors open, we see a security guard. I swear, words cannot describe how relieved I was, and I can definitely say the same for Alyssa because she went from being as white as Casper to being as red as a bottle of Sriracha while talking to this lady, let me tell you. It was hard for both of us to try and stay calm. The security guard asked us what happened, and this woman had the audacity to go, "These kids touched my child." This is around 6:10, which is usually time I have to leave to escort Alyssa to her classroom. It's a good 5-minute walk, although her class isn't until 6:45, mine is at 6:30, and from the library it's a good 10 minutes away when you walk from her building. It's 15 minutes. I don't necessarily need to escort her, but she feels more comfortable having a friend, understandably. I feel more comfortable escorting her as well, as I like knowing she arrived in her classroom safely. Both of us are beginning to panic at the thought of being late, and the fact that this woman is blaming us for not keeping an eye on the dog. This just holds us up longer. She then said we let her pet it. This lady kept dragging it, we just wanted to leave. When the lady said we should have kept an eye out because the dog was just roaming around, 2 students who witnessed the event unfold took our side of things. Things get sorted and we leave. The guard was totally pointless and no help at all. I am escorting her to class at 7 o'clock. Both of us are late, it's dark out, it's cold, both of us are pissed. Hopefully we don't see this bitch again next time we go to the library, because not only was it difficult to get anything done, but both of us was late. I hope karma gets her or something. Oh my word! It's a service dog. How can you be so insistent on someone's pet that you're going to stroke it? I mean, you've been told how many times you and your kid are insisting you pet it and making kissing noises at it. You just want to punch her in the face. Oh my word, thank you so much for sharing that story. That is awful though. Next we have a story from Locktub. Try to steal my dog? Get ready for the beatdown of your life. I like the sound of this one already. Around 5 years ago, my mum and I adopted this little pup from the centre. He's a Maltese Shih Tzu that we named Rowdy. He's loud and proud and almost never stops barking throughout the day. His name suits him well. Other than being a little loud, he's a good boy. A few weeks ago, we had new neighbours move in, and they are, how can I say this, a bunch of pricks. At first they complained about the noise, and when we told him that we've been teaching him not to be so loud, honestly he's still very noisy, but not as noisy as he was when we first got him. My neighbours had never seen my dog, until one day I went to walk him. One of the 3 kids had ran inside after seeing Rowdy, and EM came out and started yelling at me. Had my earphones in so I could barely hear what she was saying. When I come back from my walk, EM is standing outside our house with her arms crossed. She starts berating me for allowing Rowdy to be so loud for so long, and that he should be put down. I simply told her that it's been a long process, but we're trying to help him. She didn't take to this kindly, and decided to try and snatch up Rowdy. I pushed her back and told her that if she even thinks about touching him, I'll call the police. She turns away and walks back inside her house. A few days later while I'm at work, we get a call from the neighbours, and they said that they saw EM and her husband trying to jump our fence. I told my boyfriend and my boss that we need to leave and see what's up. When we got there, EM has put a fucking muzzle on my dog. Rowdy kept squirming around in her arms while whimpering. We ran up and I knocked this woman's teeth in. My boyfriend grabbed Rowdy and undid the muzzle. Husband just stood there, probably scared that my boyfriend would knock his teeth in as well. I don't remember how badly I beat this bitch, but there was a lot of blood coming from her mouth, and damn, it felt good. Our neighbours called the police, and when they got there, I was still on top of this whale. Pulled up and handcuffed, I was searing with rage. Rowdy seemed to be doing okay, went back to his normal loud self. Ambulance arrived soon after, and EM was taken away. I was basically given the story of violence is never the answer, and that I'll be taken down to the station. My actions weren't justified, to be fair, as she only put a muzzle on him, but that's when our neighbours had told them that they'd jumped our fence. A few hours later, I was let go, but EM could still press charges for assault. Again, violence is never the answer. We haven't heard from EM yet, but her husband has been given a warning in the assist of breaking and entering. I'm still surprised that this whale even managed to get over the fence. That's all for now, thanks for reading. Here's a pic of Rowdy. Such a good boy. I like this one that it got straight to the point. You got back and went and smashed her teeth in straight away. But as you say, violence is never the answer. But someone touching your dog, you just don't do that. You don't put a muzzle on them. Now we have a story from Panther125, entitled Grandparent, Get Rid of One of Your Dogs. You don't need to. Not a native English speaker, so grammar could be shit, but you know. Just to clarify, my gramps are frugal, like extremely frugal, to the point of frugality being the only meaningful thing in their life. It's escalated into basically breaking the whole family apart, and they decide to give their house and other things up to their children even before they die. Because if it went into the inheritance process, there'd be some tax to pay. They decided to go live with my uncle, who got money for selling their house, almost breaking his family apart, being the annoying old people who only ranted that the uncle's family was spending too much, checking their garbage if they're not throwing away too much of food, and so on. All while basically uncle retaliated with spending as little time with them as possible. That put them on swords with my mother and a protective drive about her parents. It ended with lawyers being put to work and getting Gramps' money back from uncle, all while shitstorm blew across the family. Money paid to the lawyers and basically losing 100k, which was the difference between the value of their house when they sold it and 3 years later when they got the money back, and went to peaceful life in a retirement home. 3 siblings are not talking to each other, family in tatters, 100k down the drain, but they saved the money for inheritance tax. Deal of the century. Jesus, what a shitstorm, man. My parents own the house my grandfather was born in, and they've been steadily renovating it for the last 20 years, so I decided to invite Gramps for a week to have holidays there. I was also invited, kind of fresh after a breakup with my girlfriend. We had 2 Czechoslovakian wolf dogs, Male we bought as a puppy, and female we adopted from a sanctuary. She left, dogs remain with me, as I'm earning enough money to afford a house, car, dogs, firearms, and all the shit around just from my own salary. So to speak, I'm not suffering from being poor. Me, obvious, EGP, entitled Gramps, I refer to them as one entity, as they are the same in the matter. M, Mother. Mother says, the neighbours had to pay several $100 because their dog jumped on a neighbour's child and damaged his cell phone. Entitled Gramps says, how could someone give such pricey apparatus to their children? Yeah, that's why I have this cheap mobile phone for $150. If the dogs break it, I'll throw it out and buy another. No harm done. What? How can you say that? Such a big amount of money. I then say, it's nothing. It doesn't really bother me at all. Dogs cost $60 a month just to feed, so a few hundred for a phone is no big deal. Entitled Gramps then says, so when are you going to give her up? Pointing to the female, which being a rescue was extremely bonded to me and really would not probably survive being sent away. Not speaking about the fact that I'm fiercely protective of them to the point of not hesitating to use all force necessary if they should become endangered in any way. Mum then says, no, he's not going to do that. Don't talk about this. You know him. Well, they had 2 dogs since they were a couple. Now he's alone. He doesn't need 2 dogs. I beg your pardon? It's just a waste of money. You only need 1 dog. You should pick one and send the other one to the pound. You have to be careful about your money. You can save $30 a month. I stood up, I packed my shit, and I left. Later telling my mother I'm not going to see those people ever again. 3 years so far, not a single time. Kind of anticlimactic ending. No police called, just the awe of the fact that someone would be willing to betray the trust of another sentient being just to save a few bucks. Here's the doggo tax. Love the doggos. So good. But man, what's with the Gramps, man? I can see what you mean about the frugality of it, but yeah, absolutely nuts. Now we have a story from Tyrone2538. Edie gets mad when I won't let him have my dog. Some months ago, my mum and I moved into a new home. This story took place in February. Our new home is smaller than our old one, so we're selling some furniture and stuff we don't need. A guy, Edie, is coming to buy a love seat that my mum had listed on Facebook Marketplace. My mum was at work when he was coming, and since I'm a small 18-year-old girl, I didn't want to take any risks with the guy being shady or trying anything, so I had my very good Old English sheepdog Pepper sitting outside and waiting with me. She's super friendly but can sense if I'm getting upset and will get defensive. So the guy rolls around about 15 minutes later than he said he'd be there. No big deal, I guess. He gets out and introduces his son, EK. He's like 11 and immediately wants to pet Pepper. Sure, no problem. While I'm helping Edie load up the sofa, he's asking questions about Pepper. How old is she? How long have you had her for? Does she do tricks? Etc, etc. When we're done, the guy's about to pay and says, how much for the mutt? Excuse me, she is a purebred. Here's how the conversation went down. I say, I'm sorry, what? Entitled Dad then says, the dog, is $100 okay? First off, I paid $1,000 for her. I saved up the money from mowing lawns and doing housework in and around our neighbourhood. Hella lowballing that. Second, she's my dog. I love her, and no amount of money in the world will ever make me even consider getting rid of her. I say, sorry, she's my dog, not for sale. The sofa will be... EK pipes in. Daddy, I want the doggy. I know, kiddo, we'll get her. No, she is not for sale. Let me have her then. You've had her for 5 years since she was a puppy. She obviously likes EK better than you. No, pay me and leave, now. Then I notice that this little shit is dragging Pepper by the collar towards their truck. She's resisting him. I call Pepper and she breaks out of EK's grip and sits at my feet. Such a good girl. At this point, I'm getting upset and I know Pepper can tell. Entitled Dad says, I'm taking that dog. He reaches towards Pepper and she snarls at him. I've never seen Pepper this way before. What the fuck? Come here, mutt. Daddy, I want my dog. That little piece of shit is stomping his foot and starting to cry. I'm reaching for the pepper spray I keep on my lanyard that I was wearing, but Pepper lashes out first. She bit Edie on the hand. I don't think there was even blood though. Edie starts cursing and yelling at me that I have animal control out here and Pepper will be put down, blah blah blah, and I'm shaking and crying and Pepper is still growling and barking. They leave in a hurry and I didn't get paid for the love seat that we were selling for $100. I should have had him pay me first. That was a while ago and animal control hasn't come by, so I'm not worried, just shaken up. My mum was upset, but after I explained everything it was fine. I took Pepper to cookout and she got chicken nuggets for being a good, protective girl. Such a good girl, got those chicken nuggets. And here's Pepper. God, what a beautiful dog. Look at those eyes, man. Such a good doggy. Thank you so much for sharing that story. And I hope you guys enjoyed this doggo edition. I love the pet editions because you always get pictures of the dogs. Thank you very much for joining us today. If you did like this episode, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe button, and maybe even that notification bell. Much love, guys. Thank you very much. Goodbye.